Greetings. Welcome to another broadcast of I Have a Testimony. I'm your host, Brother Willie Muhammad.
God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us.
He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.
Today, brothers and sisters, we are blessed to have with us some of the hosts of one of the many dynamic online shows that we have that are hosted by members of the Nation of Islam. Our guests today are Sister Mariam Warwick and Brother Michael Muhammad, who are the hosts of the dynamic show, The Farrakhan Generation, which can be found on the Closing the Gap Broadcast Network.
Closing the gap. As long as we moving together, then nothing is holding us back. I cannot factor in none of your feelings. We dealing in actual facts. Just know our numbers exact. Keep it 1,000. If you see the universe stitching his crown, you won't see a cap. Told you closing the gap. They covered the truth, he opened the lid. I'm going over, they go like a bridge. You tell a tree by fruit like a fig. Went from auction blocks to doing the bid. We were chosen so that I get it big. The well is the darkest, as cold as it gets. Truth is the light, and our path will be lit by the love of the leader. No doubts in this wig. Cured our illness, I know that they sick. Ooh.
Closing the Gap Broadcast Network, the Farrakhan Generation.
Assalamu alaikum, brother and sister.
Walaikum salam.
You can hear me, brother Mike? Here we go.
Walaikum salam.
Man, listen, man. Always big fans of you all. You know, I love the work that you all are doing and everything that you are doing on and offline as well. So I'd like to jump right into the actual interview. Let's get right to it so our viewers can hear these dynamic testimonies by both of you all. All right?
Yes, sir.
So my first question, I always love this question because I get the opportunity to not only hear, but actually record the experiences about the journeys of believers, how they came to Islam, right? And with you, I found out some very interesting things with both of you all. So I'll first start with Brother Michael, then we'll go to Sister Marianne. So Brother Michael, I've read in your bio that you are part of a third generation of Muslims, right?
Yes.
So can you talk about what you know about your grandparents and even your parents being members of the Nation of Islam, and then your decision to continue such a tradition?
Well, I'll stay. My grandfather, Brother Alfred Muhammad, and my grandmother, Sister Harriet Muhammad, as well as another grandmother. See, I come from a very interesting background. My grandfather, he had, when he was growing up, how can I say it? Children by two women. And he loved them both when they were younger. They were all went to school together, grew up on the same block. And, you know, the reality of that dynamics, my grandfather being one who is determined to be not one of the world, he tried to make sense of that type of dynamics. You know, two young girls, he's a young man and living on his own at a very young age of 12 years old and having children with children. He decided that he was not going to be the kind of father that would leave his children alone or choose between one and the other. He took responsibility for that dynamics, and the Nation of Islam was the prescription by which, when he heard the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, it was a prescription for him in that made that dynamics something that he was able to grow the strength and the will to manage with the best of righteousness that he could use and the best of striving that he could find. And growing up, excuse me, someone's ringing my doorbell. Growing up, I had two grandmothers in some sense, you know, a large family of uncles and aunts, and having a biological grandmother and an unbiological grandmother, both seeing them as my grandmother. They were the ones that taught us the teachings from the first. They were the ones that gave us the history of what they experienced under the realm of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And they also explained when we were children, you know, sitting around a fire, the pain of the fall of the nation and the confusion by which that produced, and how that was a time and dynamics in the families, in the homes, that was like no other time they could ever remember. So having my parents being Muslim and experiencing how the rebuilding of the Nation of Islam under the guidance of the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, how that type of light was a reflection, was equal to the light of the stories that I heard from the first, I knew that when I would come to age, I would want to become or be a part of such a lineage that would make me as determined, as strong as they were. And it was in that I knew when I would become 16, I wouldn't waste no time. So when I became 16 on October the 10th of, what year would that be? Probably 1995 would have been 10. So 2001, I took and did my reciting on October the 16th of 2001. And from there on to now, I have been in the Nation of Islam registered ever since, and have no desire to ever leave this nation. I have tripped up and crawled away, but Allah made it very clear that I would run right back to it. So
Allah.
Praise be to Allah.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful history, and just a beautiful history. And I thank Allah for your grandparents and for your parents as well. And as we transition to our sister, who also has a very interesting history as well, you know. So I see, sister, that you were born into Islam, and that's what a blessing. So can you share with us what you know about your parents accepting Islam?
Oh, Daddy.
And you being born to them?
Sorry.
Oh.
Apologize. I didn't know y'all had the picture of my father. No. Love my father very dearly.
Take your time.
He transitioned in 2011. I was born into the Nation of Islam, along with the rest of my siblings from my mother and my father. But in 2011, when he transitioned, I was not yet registered. I wrote my first letter when I was 15 years old, and it didn't pass. And so since it didn't pass, I said, oh, I guess they don't want me, in the sense of I didn't have the want to write it again. And it could be because, you know, at 15, 16 years old, you're still able to wear, you know, your headpiece and come to the mosque. Nothing changed outside of my letter not being accepted. And so I still was at home within the nation. But when he transitioned in 2011, I had already had my daughter out of wedlock. And so it was not until, you know, I had my daughter out of wedlock that the family within our nation, you know, said, okay, well, Sister Mariama, either you have to get registered or you have to take off the headpiece. And all praises due to Allah, because we have to hold one another accountable. At that point, I was an adult. And so I didn't have the desire to write the letter at that point. So I took off the headpiece. Fast forward, my father transitioned May 19th, 2011, 10 days after my 23rd birthday. That July, I met a young gentleman who was the son of an imam of a Sunni masjid they were Egyptian, quote unquote, Egyptian Puerto Ricans. And so from the East. And I started going to that masjid and I thought that I found Islam. I thought I found the truth. And that is because I did not have a strong foundation on these teachings. I went to the mosque every Sunday. I went to MGT class, but I wasn't studying independently. I did not ask the questions that needed to be asked of myself in order to know and understand the truth and the beauty in what we have. So when I was at that masjid and the sisters asked me, well, how can Master Farrakhan Muhammad be Allah if he was born in 1877? And I did not have an answer because I never questioned it. And since I didn't question it, I didn't understand it. And it took me away from these beautiful teachings in the course that Allah wanted me to go for about 4.5 years or so. And it wasn't until 2015 that I saw Hidden Colors, the first film for the second time, because in 2012 when I saw it, I was so dead in the mind that I was so focused on doing something else in the negative that I was barely paying attention to the beauty and the truth that that project delivers. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, I think I've seen this before. And I was like, oh, wow, this is some great information. Yeah, black people and white people were not created at the same time. When I fell away in 2011, I went so far left that I actually started to submit my mind to believe that black people and all other people were created at the same time. So it was a journey to come back into truth and to submit to that truth. But that's what ignited the train, was bearing witness to that, them, even white people bearing witness that we were not created at the same time. So to fast forward, my daughter, I was sending her to MUI in Richmond, Virginia with my cousins, my stepmother, or my other mother, who is also in the nation. The majority of my maternal side of my family, my aunts, cousins, they are all registered within the Nation of Islam by Allah's grace. So I would send her, I knew where to send her. And so she was going there and I would come out here and there. But it wasn't until Savior's Day 2018, Savior's Day 2019. I will say this to go along with that, what I'm about to say. Even within me denouncing the Nation of Islam, Allah didn't allow me to denounce Minister Louis Farrakhan. I've always had an affinity for him, being an actress, a thespian, an edutainer, our birthdays being 2 days apart. I don't know. There's always just been an innate love. So I gave the teachings away, but I didn't give him away. I never bad spoke, only by Allah's grace, because I clearly had lost my mind. But only by Allah's grace, he let me still have that affinity. And so in the 2018 Savior's Day, I don't even remember what he said, but all I remember is crying the whole time. 2018, 2019. It was like, it was slowly pulling me back. And 2019, I was able to give up all of the vices of the world and submit to truth. And that April, I re-entered into the class of the MGT GCC by Allah's grace. My mother joined the Nation of Islam in 2000. In 1974, I actually did an interview with her April 2019 as I was slowly coming back in and getting into class. And actually, I didn't slowly come back in. It was full throttle on the onset. Once I committed, actually. Everything after April 2019, the second week of school or the second week of class, I just was like, we going hard. And so I did an interview with her to know her history and coming within the nation. And she came in 1974. And if you want to check that out, it's on my YouTube. Just if you want to know my mother's background. But I recited August 21st, 2019. And I want to say this. When I got my letter of acceptance, before I got the letter of acceptance, I told Allah, I do not care because it failed at 15. I said, Allah, I want this. I believe. I'm ready to submit. It does not matter how many times it fails. I will continue to write it. It got sent back 3 times. I was like, oh, Allah, you'll see if we're true to our word. And I said, it's all right. I'm going to keep doing it. And when it finally passed, I opened that letter. My daughter was in the back seat and I just was bawling. And I told her, if you don't understand something, do not leave. Ask questions. This is the truth. This is the truth. If there's something you do not understand, you don't have to necessarily come to me, but go to somebody. Just do not leave this. And so, inshallah, in the 3 years, 4 years that come up, she will be able to really, truly submit herself to these teachings.
Allah. Listen, we are already in the show, and what you all have shared is dynamic, and it's all a part of your testimony. And as the scripture says, that Satan was defeated by the blood of the Lamb and the power of their testimony. So we thank you all for what you all have shared thus far. The time is moving by fast. We're up on our first break, and we'll be back, brothers and sisters, to hear more of the dynamic interview of our brother and our sister, the host of the Farrakhan generation. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.
And we're back, family. And you heard me close out talking about how they are the host of the Farrakhan generation broadcast. And I want to lead that into this next question. So we want to talk about that show. And I'll start with you, Brother Michael, then we'll go to our sister Mariam. So, Brother Michael, can you tell us how the show actually originated? I know it's a part of the Closing the Gap broadcast, but how did the Farrakhan generation show actually come into existence?
Ooh, that's a question I'm not really sure if I could answer accurately. I just know that I received a call one day from Brother Demetric, and he stated that there was a show called Closing the Gap broadcast, and there was interest for 2 young hosts to start a aspect or branch of the network or broadcast that would reach the youth. And he said, I think you would be good for it. And I said, me? I know I did a interview series on MSGOV, the Beat Radio, and he was one of the interviewees, but I didn't think that I would be good enough to be on, to be requested by a broadcast that has been out for several years by, Minister James and Sister Starla from The Final Call and Minister Chad. I said, me? He said, yeah, I think you'd be good. Do you have interest? I said, whatever is within this mission in this nation, I have an interest. I said, I'm obligated to be a part of the mission. I said, so I guess I would be honored to. And he said, okay. And you will receive a call from Minister James. And I said, okay. And Minister James called me and he talked with me and he spoke with me. And from there, he stated that there was this sister, and I didn't know at the time who that sister was. And he said that is another sister who would be the host as well alongside with you. And I think you both would be dynamic in reaching the youth and reaching areas where we can't reach. I said, oh, I want to know who this sister is. And interestingly enough, I had been seeing her on Instagram building houses, basically. Not really building houses, but she was working on an RV and building it. And I'm like, wow, this sister is serious. She's no joke. She's basically a mechanic, carpenter, everything in between. And I didn't know that the sister that he was referring to was the same sister that I was admiring in her talents on Instagram just in pass by. And when I found out it was her, and the initial introduction or meet and greet with her virtually, of course, because of the pandemic was very much still in play at that time, I said, man, she's very familiar. The reality of her, I felt like I knew her before. Even when I seen her on Instagram, I said, this sister feels like family. I just feel like we played in the playground somewhere before. So, but the reality was that's how I can remember how it began for me. Minister James would probably be the best person to ask on how it started in his mind, but I just know that that's how it began. And then sometime after that, there was a little intro to the followers and viewers of Closing the Gap, and it was Minister James and Minister Demetric, and they had us both on there, and they basically presented us to the world at that time. And it's been an honor to work with such a network and such beautiful people for a year and some change at this point.
Thank you for those words, man. And we're thankful for them selecting you all as hosts, because you all are two dynamic hosts. And now I will ask you too, Sister Miriam, is on that same subject, but it's a different form of the question about that. My question I want to ask you about the Farrakhan Generation show is, can you share your thoughts concerning what you all consider to be the overall purpose of the show?
Yes, sir. I believe Brother Michael stated it. The purpose would be to reach the younger demographic, those that are within the age range of, say, 13 to 40. Student Minister James gave a smaller number. I want to say he gave between like 18 to 30 or 18 to 25. But because of our youth, they're so different, I'm going to give it the age range of 13 to 40, because as we are familiar with in our nation, there's a young Brother West, who actually was one of my daughter's schoolmates at Asiatic Minds. This brother is on the scene. He hosts a show with some other brothers and sisters, and it's a beautiful show. I've watched a few episodes. I wish I had the name on my mind. But they are different. I see this youth, they're more serious about their Islam, and I feel like they have a stronger and a more concrete understanding from me looking into them, like me seeing them. They had a better grasp than what I had. So with having a younger host, people are attracted to people that are sometimes their age. Granted, I absolutely love Closing the Gap broadcast by itself before it was ever, brought to me to come onto the team. I was watching it. I was, ironing clothes, listening to the interviews. I remember one that sticks out is the one that they did with Student Minister Abel and our sister Amina Lay. And when the opportunity was presented, I was like, this show? I was like, okay, oh snap. So praise be to Allah. But I believe that that's why you would take that angle, because if you don't take an angle with having people that you may not necessarily have a good rapport of, that are of a certain age demographic, you won't necessarily get that younger crowd. And they may not necessarily be engaged to come back week after week. And honestly, it opened up the opportunity for us to be able to meet our peers, and our peers are super dope, to put it colloquially. There's still so many people that I want to meet and speak with and build with, that it's just such a blessing, and it just does so much for us as individuals, as hosts, but it also does something for our elders within this nation, seeing this age demographic of the young 20s to the almost about 40, seeing us be so into our Islam rejuvenates them, because they are one of our strongest audience base. And I love that. I pray that they go nowhere, because it's closing the gap between the age demographics within this nation and us calling on them to get advice. The fact that they are there, they can be there to say, if we miss a beat and say something incorrect, they can totally put it in the chat and say, I was actually incorrect. Praise be to Allah. Thank you for the elders, the pioneers, being within the fold, within watching and supporting our show as well. That's what I got.
Thank you. And we have 5 minutes. Thank you, sis. And we have 5 minutes before this next break. And I want to ask our brother Michael. I've also found out how you are the student coordinator of the Muhammad Study Leah Valley, if I'm pronouncing that right. And while preparing for this, man, I saw that it appeared that one time you gave a Sunday lecture. It looked like the scenery was beautiful, man. If you can briefly talk about, you see the picture, I want you to talk about that. And within this 5 minutes as well, can you talk about how you all have been able to do something when I am so happy about being able to purchase an actual meeting place for your study group?
What is the question exactly?
So just talk about just the idea when you did that lecture where it was out in the public, because most of our meetings are held inside, and also talk about just the purchase of the building that you all have.
Yes, sir. Okay, I will say that lecture that we did outside, that was a beautiful day actually too. I remember the inspiration behind it. Initially, the inspiration behind it was, first off, we were in the pandemic. So still there is dynamics where properties are not as easy to obtain. And also with the fear of being in a close space or any space where people could be sick. And being that we had a farm, there's a farm here that me and my family live on, but is open to the Nation of Islam because we are a product of the nation. So whatever we have is the nation's. And since we had that ability to bring the believers and guests onto the property, we did so. And we spoke, and we enjoyed each other. And all the children were playing around and playing with the animals that was on the property at the end. We basically was like a family at the very end of that. That's my son, one of the sons that I have. He's like the third to the last one right now because my wife is currently pregnant. But that's my son, Wasay Abdul Fad Muhammad. That's his name. So we did that on my farm, on MSGLV Farms, which is Muhammad Study Group Lehigh Valley Farms. And the purchase of the building came shortly after. We started off in a auditorium somewhere a year ago, and word got out that we were the Nation of Islam, and we had to leave. So quickly and fast moving, as we are taught right down to the modern day time, we secured another rental spot and split up into 2 cells. So we went from 1 cell where we first was meeting, and at that time, not too many places were meeting in a place. So we had the blessing of some space that would allow us to meet. And when that happened, where they said, we see a flyer, where's the messenger is on it? And I said, yeah, the messenger is on the flyer. Well, you can't have that attached to the building. I said, well, I thought we all was understanding what we and who we were. Well, they definitely kept us from coming back in the building the week after, but we thanked them because they were still the incubator by which allowed us to grow. no hard feelings. We understand, and we understand the business of things, the spiritualness of things, and the dynamics of certain things like that. So I didn't have any hard feelings, but we moved on, and we secured a place in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and then secured another place in Scranton, Pennsylvania, at two separate points of what is considered the Lehigh Valley territory. And we began meeting in two places. And the believers that were closer to the Scranton, Pennsylvania area met on a Sunday at that area. And then the believers closer to the Bethlehem area would go, and I would speak to we would do a Sunday meeting in the Bethlehem area. So I would meet in Bethlehem from 11 to 1, and then drive an hour and some change to Scranton and speak there and meet with the believers and guests in that area from 3 to 5. And as those two areas began to grow, we began to want something for ourselves, and we saw the money going out. So we saw that we had the ability to hold something of our own, because we were spending that money for renting. And that was just for a Sunday, not even for the usage of that space for the month or all day or all week. So I saw something on Craigslist, just like I found this farm and found different other properties that we have. And this building was sitting there for $135,000 in an area still in the Lehigh Valley, a small little city called Lansford. And is where the miners used to mine back in the day. So it's a very historical town. And that building was listed for 135, but when I called, they had dropped it on the phone before I can even get the words out my mouth of interest, that it was now 98,000. I said, whoa. I said, well, would you do owner's finance? And they said, no. I've heard that before, and Allah has allowed that to not be the answer that stands too long. But I said, well, you know, we would like to see it. And we went to go see it. And when I got to the building to meet with the pastor's representative, his name was Brother George. And I say Brother George out of respect of the spiritual faiths that we both are a part of. And he is a Caucasian man. But when we were in there and I was meeting with him, he asked a couple of questions. And I said, I am a member of the Nation of Islam, because he asked what kind of faith I was. And I said, I'm a member of the Nation of Islam. He said, huh? Oh, so you hate white people. I started to explain. And from that explanation, a certain amount of energy built up in the space where it went from a sense of, to I wonder. And he started getting curious and wanting to know. And I come to find out in that discussion that he's been listening and hearing the teachings of the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Elijah Muhammad. And from there, he started to have some tears in his eyes. And he asked for a hug. And I gave him a hug. And from there, he said, well, can I record you and how you explain how you want this building? And I can give it to the pastor and we'll see what he says. And I did. I said, sure. And I started to explain while he's recording me. He gave it to the pastor. Whenever the pastor saw, the pastor was very much pleased by it. And the pastor called me personally then and then said, I don't know what it is, but the spirit is not moving me towards money. It's moving me towards you. Because he had a developer that wanted to buy it for double the amount that he was listing it for. And instead of going with the developer, he went with us. And he gave us that building at no interest, no major down payment. And we are able to buy this property without any interest, same as cash, within a certain amount of time of 40 months. So that's the dynamics of that building. We are in there trying to serve the community. But I want to say this because I don't want it to go that I did not say something that was said. Right now, I'm not acting in this position of a minister or coordinator. There is a dynamics that we are undergoing that is a beautiful examination And in this examination, the reality is we are proving to Allah that we are believers, regardless of what things are being shifted. The reality is we are believers, and God is trying to see if we would turn, or will we maintain our faith in the light when there's a hole potentially in a ship. And we're remaining patient, we're enduring the examination, and the study group is still going strong. But I am not personally, as of this current moment, as of October the 10th, I am not acting in that role, but I am always a servant. I was never a minister. I was never a teacher. I was never a leader of anyone. That all belongs to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I was simply a servant, and I'm still one. So regardless of where I am in any aspect of the nation, I pray that I'm always found working and always found in love with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and every believer of this nation and his lost chosen people.
To Allah. We thank you, brother, for what you shared, man. May Allah continue to bless each of you all. We're on. Time is moving by fast. We're up on our next break. When we come back, there are two questions that I'm just can't wait to ask our sister Mariam. So we'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.
AsiaticMinds.com, the curriculum of study from the University of God's Mind. Education that enhances the quality of learning through a virtual school system. The science of mathematics, communication, and deductive reasoning. Our children are the future. Invest in your destiny. To enroll now, visit AsiaticMinds.com.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button, or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Thank you for tuning in to NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, National Network View. This is Clifton Muhammad with NNVnews.com.
Muhammad's economic blueprint, the collective power of our dollars to build a future for ourselves. With 5 cents a day, 35 cents a week, $1.40 a month, and $18.20 a year multiplied by 16 million wage earners would give us $291 million in 1 year. Everyone can give 35 cents a week as an investment in our future. Donate now and see what our pennies, nickels, and dimes can accomplish. Visit economicblueprint.org.
And we're back, brothers and sisters. And I want to ask this question, and it really came to me as I was preparing this interview. And I'll start with you, Sister Mariam, then we'll go to our brother Michael. And I haven't forgotten about the other question I want to ask you too, Sister Mariam. But here's this question. You know, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been telling us and forewarning us about then the nation and the public about his pending physical departure from among us, right? Yeah. So in light of that, I would like to ask you all, what role do you see your online broadcast plays in helping the believers during his physical absence? We'll start with you, Sister Mariam, and then we'll go back to our brother Michael.
Wow. I actually have not thought about that at all. Quite honestly, because we are taught and told that all HE double hockey sticks is going to break loose. I honestly don't know what that time period is going to look like. We did not know. Although we have been told this for the past 90 plus years, at that point it was 90 years, of everything within the scriptures being living in that time is going to take place now. 75% of it is prophecy, right? So we're living in the time of all those plagues and famine now. But when the coronavirus hit in 2020, everybody was shook. The nation, as individuals within the nation included. And so because the world stopped, I know that the word that this man gives to us is true. So I don't have an inkling of what will come to pass and how it's going to look, because when he departs. So with that being said, if Allah has me still on my post, I don't plan to quit my post until properly relieved. So we don't know what kind of, what do I want to say? We don't know what kind of effect that it would have to continue to go on with doing the show. It can be a light that people may need because the hour will be dark. So Allah wouldn't have allowed you to ask the question if it was not something that needs to be on my mind. It's quite literally something I did not think about, because I know that the hour will be dark, but we seek Allah's refuge within that dark hour from Satan and all that he manifests. So inshallah, we will have that blessed opportunity to strive to be a light within that dark hour, because it won't only be a light to the viewers, it will be the light to us to continue to strive and hold on to all that we have. Yes, sir. Thank you for that question.
I appreciate that.
You know, about it.
You know, one of our scholars in the Nation of Islam, Brother Willie Muhammad, told me that we should never feel like we have to come up with an answer for something that we don't know. And I appreciate what you shared, and just what you shared also about how, you know, the show provides a light. So thank you for those responses. And this was normally, is really, you know, it's normally a type of question I wouldn't really ask, but it hit me last night to ask this question, and I moved with it. So Brother Michael, what role do you see the Farrakhan generation's online broadcast? And even, you know, I could ask this question to others who have shows as well, but we're asking about, you know, the show that you all host, the role that it could play in helping believers during the minister's absence.
Wow, I love that question. Well, I would say this, dear brother. The name Farrakhan holds enough weight by itself and should determine what kind of success and reach such a show should have. See, it's not a show of entertainment. Neither is this particular interview. I have a testimony is not for entertainment. Brother Joshua's podcast is not for entertainment. The People's Podcast, different podcasts and broadcasts and shows that are around our nation are not for entertainment. We all was inspired to produce them wherever they were coming from or whoever they came from, to be an extension or reflection of the light of the man that gave us light, that gave us life. And we all want to have our hands in on building this nation and keeping that which was never to fall again, to be a part of those numbers who would be able to say, we are the reasons we were used by Allah so that this nation would never fall again. So I would say that the Farrakhan generation, coming out of the closing of the Gap Broadcast Network, coming from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's light, and then being the eternal light, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Master Fard Muhammad, I would hope that, and I would believe, and I see that such a network, such a show, just as this one, I have a testimony, is like it's like the side mirror on our car. You know, when we look at the mirror, it gives us a picture of what is that we're looking at. But then you see on the fine print, it says objects may seem closer than they appear. See, we want Farrakhan to be perceived close to the eyes and minds and ears of the people. So he sends us out so that when they see us, they see him, giving them a closer image, a closer perception, a reality that he is who he is and what we say he is. We know him to be the Messiah, but we know he's much more than that, and some of the much more would come in due time. But he's light. It's something in Matthew, the book of Matthew. It says, you know, neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick. And then it says, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Then it continues, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good work and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Well, we can't hide our light no more. I have a testimony is a light. Closing the Gap Broadcast Network is a light. The People's Podcast is a light. Final Call Radio is a light. NOI.org, a light. Every believer's Instagram, as long as they're staying connecting and posting things that reflect the teaching, it is a light. Every brother and sister that walks by a person was a light that walked by a person and offered something into a homeless man's cup, or, you know, walked a lady across the street, or offered a final call to a sister or a brother, or a sister just giving out food and water to the community. We are lights. So I would say and hope and pray that the Farrakhan generation would be one of those lights that glorify our Father which art in heaven. And I would leave it at that.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And when the time is going by so fast, so I'm gonna ask this question to Sister Mariam. Then there's a joint question that I ask for both of y'all, just closing out. Any last words? But I'm asking this question, Sister Mariam, because sometimes people have a view of members of the Nation of Islam like we're just this rigid people, that we don't enjoy ourselves, right? And I often tell us, the believers, that Master Farrakhan Muhammad didn't come to put a straitjacket on us where we wouldn't enjoy ourselves. On Tuesdays, there were family times when they played baseball and they danced, right? And I recently saw that you and some sisters did the Beyonce song TikTok viral.
So I didn't know the name until that day.
Yeah, but my question to you is, just can you share briefly, just to let people know that as Muslims, we enjoy ourselves, but we do it in a righteous manner. And then after you do that, we'll close out with the closing words.
Praise be to Allah. Oh, I want to take it back to going to that masjid. So those sisters, I will say, they were quite adamant about striving to be Muslims. They did not, I don't want to say, they didn't necessarily have relationships like with brothers that were not their husbands. It was very much so separated. And bonding with them was beautiful. And I remember one of the sisters, her son and daughter is actually my name and my brother's name, but they would talk about having, actually it was her brother that we had this conversation about the women in his family staying home and having a party and not going out. And I was like, that's boring. I was like, why not? Like, what is still so wrong? I was so wrapped into what this world offers as fun. Oh Allah, we had so much fun that other night that we literally were like, it's time to go. Like, oh no, it was like, yes, beloved. We had our there were brothers there as our security. We were in a safe haven. We were at the Art, that is the building offered to us by Student Minister Sharif, and we were covered down, and we laughed, and we joked, we played, we danced, we spoke about relationships, we spoke about growth. Removing the idea of what fun is out from the framework that we are delivered, you truly begin to have fun. There's no alcohol. Oh, Allah, it's just so sorry. Islam, submission to Allah, is so beautiful. To allow yourself to release yourself of the burden of sin and truly have fun and truly build the bonds of sisterhood. Coming off the hills of the Vanguard retreat, I didn't know that I was missing it. I did not know that that was a part of what I was missing. I really just didn't know. And so to wrap it all up, is basically moving out of the framework of what this world offers as fun, as entertainment, as joy, as happiness. Gosh, like if you continue to look out of the framework that they give you on marriage, your marriage will fail. Like your life will fail. My life was failing. I was not living. I was dying. And I'm just so thankful to Allah that He saw me fit to bring me home. And through this journey, I keep discovering new things about myself that as soon as the teachings hit, you kind of think that you may have arrived, but you got the sauce and you're trying to deliver the sauce to the people and eat this food. It's so good, but it's so beautiful that even today and week after week, I keep getting a new plate of sauce and I'm like, wow, this stuff is great. So all praises due to Allah. We had fun.
Thank you for sharing that, because I know in the city of New Orleans, there's hardly anything that you can do where music is not involved. And we can't expect to think that people join the Nation of Islam and just abandon that music, arts, and culture, right? So thank you. And what we'll do, if really I'm realizing that I'm going to have to double back and have an individual show with both of you all. So we'll do this again. So in closing, and there any closing words you all wanted to share that you did not have the opportunity to, please do so. We'll start with you, Brother Michael, and then we'll start with you, Sister Mariam. And now, listen to me. I pray that Allah continues to bless you all with success. You all really shared some great testimony. We can't wait for people to hear what you all have shared. Go ahead, Brother Michael, then we'll go to Sister Mariam.
Yes, I don't have much to say. I'm just honored and so pleased to be on such an interview with my dear sister Mariam and my brother Willie. It's different to be on the other side, and for the last year we've been on the hosting side. So to be asked, it's kind of refreshing, because you sometimes realize you have things you want to express, but no one's asking you to express them. So you instead just build on your own study with yourself, because you don't necessarily have that outlet, to express those things. But I would say one thing, I'm so blessed. It's such a joyful thing to be part of the Nation of Islam. I had said it on the interview before when you was on there, Brother Willie. I'm so honored to be able to express the test that I am on and give the reason why, because it all verifies, all points to Farrakhan. It all points to Elijah. It all points to Farad. and father. It all points to the young brother, the young sister, the middle-aged brother, the middle-aged sister, the older brother, the older sister in this nation, the ones that have yet to come, and to be a part of eternity. To be a part of eternity and to assist Allah and be used by Allah to build eternity. I don't think you can ask for anything else. You just hope and pray that you are pleasing in the eyes of Allah. And I hope and pray that I'm pleasing in the eyes of Allah.
Thank you.
Allahu Akbar.
Thank you. And Sister Mariam?
Alhamdulillah. I was having a conversation with my sister, and I asked her, this is the first time I ever asked her, how do you see me in my Islam? And she gave some remarks, some that I can definitely bear witness to, and things that I had already had an inkling, a thought that some may perceive looking at me now in the journey that I'm in. She made a statement that it may seem that I may be a little extreme, and within how I'm striving to proselytize the faith. And to that, my mind went to our Father. When I say our Father, I mean the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Our Father is an extremist. He went 100,000 throttle because, again, he knew what he had to do in order for Allah to elevate him to the next stage. So if that's the case, all praise is due to Allah. Another thing she said was that she knows the teachings. I have to say, I thought I knew the teachings until I studied the teachings. So for all those who may be interested, or all those individuals who were born into the nation adjacent, who think that they know the teachings, humbly submit yourself. Ask Allah for his guidance. If you believe in Allah, and if you do not believe in Allah, respect yourself enough to give yourself the ability to humble thyself and read Message to the Black Man, and read it to not negate what's in it. Read it to try to receive the light that's in it. You can't seek knowledge and have the mindset to negate it. Then you're never going to receive the knowledge. There's always something that, to every opposite, or you know what I'm saying? There's always something of the positive to the negative. So within truth, there's always going to be a lie to combat the truth. So for all of those who may be on the fence or teeter and tottering as we go through this dark hour, strive to truly submit yourself to what we are given in all aspects. Within everything that we are given, it is a journey. There is a balance, but strive to be on the greater end of the balance of righteousness.
Excellent. And thank you all for what you shared. And I know, since you don't have to be, I was just doing all that crying. No, this is your testimony. When people get on a when they bring them before the court to testify, people let it out, but it shows your sincerity. Brother Michael, thank you for what you are doing and the example. Give all of the believers in both of your cities the greetings, and inshallah, when we and God willing, when we resume these at the beginning of the new year, I will be reaching out to both of you all. So for those who are watching, make sure you tune in to see their broadcast every Tuesday at
7 p.m. Eastern time.
So for Central Time, that will be 6 p.m. right?
Yes.
So make sure you check it out, and make sure you support all of those. Brother Joshua, I'm still trying to get him as a guest on my show. Support everyone, because we're all, promoting and giving people the opportunity to engage and hear what we believe in. Thank you all. May Allah continue to bless each and every one of you.
Thank you, Brother Willie. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brother.
Alaikum salam. And so for those who are watching, as you heard us say, this is probably going to be the last live broadcast until the beginning of the year. We have we're going to take some time off to retool some things and and then line up our guests for inshallah on next year. We want to start it off with a bang. So we're gonna throw that rod out there to see what people that we can actually get. So may Allah continue to bless you all. We'll go through these announcements as we normally have with these announcements. You see that we are still in the process of, we're coming up. I don't know if you have, Brother Musa. If not, we'll stop right there. But let me thank those. There we go. Let me thank those who have been contributing to our mosque mortgage elimination. You know, we started off seeking to get $100 from 1,400 people, and we're happy to say today that we're a little under. We're like, now we need 1,222, right? But we're chipping away at it, so we can own a part of our own, right? So this building we've been here since 1996, and we want to own it, and that's what we are working to actually do. So thank you all for that. And then as we continue to keep moving forward, what we want to do is, we've been helping people. You know, this prostate screenings can help save the lives of Black men. And we've been able to find out that we're able to help those who are not, look, we got a typo. We can help those who are just not in the city of New Orleans, in the state of Louisiana. We can help those even outside of the city of New Orleans, in the state of Louisiana. Send us an email so we can help sign you up where you can get a free prostate screening, and this is a blood test. So we thank you for that. And with our next one, as we continue to move forward, you know, do you know, as soon as we launched this initiative, we've been getting calls, and our brother has been able to help people to begin to take steps on that road to recovery. So if you know someone, don't hesitate, reach out to us so we can put you in contact with our brother Calvin X. And in addition to that, we have the stuff with our prayer. If you know somebody that's in need of prayer, reach out to us so we can add them to our prayer list. And lastly, we're talking about the books that we have. I've been blessed to write these books. You can go to mosque46.org. And we have recently released another book titled, How Can They Love the Fruit But Hate the Tree? And it's talking about this enemy's effort to try to write out the most honorable Elijah Muhammad out of the history books, the enemy, and also some of our own brothers and sisters, unfortunately. So thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you support our brothers and sisters, and you tune into their show every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and all of the other shows that you see. People's Podcast, Closing the Gap broadcast, What Has Islam Done for Me? All of the ones, that some of them I forgot to name. So thank you, and may Allah continue to bless each and every one of you all. Assalamu alaikum.
Go home and study. See, many of you don't study your religion. Go ahead. And you think you're going to attain something without study. But if you believe in something, you need to study it so you can become proficient in what you do. Now watch this.
God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us.
He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.